Welcome to this week's edition of Business 7. Standing in for Jo Marie, my name is Johan Maas, and I'll be speaking to the group, the Chief Financial Officer of the Capricorn Group Holdings, Mr. Johan Maas, about the recent stellar results that they delivered. Do stay tuned, take a look.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Welcome to this week's edition of Business 7. My name is Johan Maas, and joining me in studio is Johan Maas, who will be speaking to us about the Capricorn Group's results following the delivery of 1.7 billion in after-profit tax. Welcome to Business 7.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. You've delivered a set of very sterling results the past month. Just lead us into the key metrics around your financial results.
Yeah, so I think we actually had a very good post-COVID run so far. Back since 2021, when we started seeing the economic recoveries, and that really back in 2023 we had an excellent financial year. So it was very nice to actually come out in 2024 and then even have a better performance on that stellar year that we had in 2023. It was helped on by the current economic conditions. I think the higher interest rates did benefit to open up the margins a bit, but then also we saw a big increase in the volumes as well. So a lot of increase in our transaction volumes that also led to some good growth.
And then the Capricorn Group was able to create 5.1 billion in value for its stakeholders. Who are the biggest benefactors out of this, and just how do you see this value trickling down to benefit stakeholders, but also the broader Namibian economy?
Yeah, so I always get very excited about this topic. 5.1 billion in value that the Capricorn Group has created for the economies of Namibia and Botswana as well. And that value is shared by all of our stakeholders. Our employees being the biggest ones. So we paid about 1.3 billion to our employees during the financial year. And we must remember in Namibia, it's not just one employee. One employee will financially support an extended family. They will also buy their meat at the local butchery. They will support the local supermarket, the local hairdresser. So the money that is paid once really emulates in a snowball. We then also paid 924 million to our suppliers in the current year, and more than 80% of them are actually local suppliers in the countries that we are, so also stimulating that local economy as well. On top of that, we also paid 1.2 billion in taxes to the governments as well in the countries where we are, most of that locally here in Namibia, and also obviously that then helps stimulate the local economy as well. Our shareholders benefited with 560 million in dividends that was paid to them, and again, more than 95% of our shareholders are local Namibian, so that's also money that's being ploughed back into the country. Then from a CSR perspective, we spent about 25 million on various CSR projects in the country, and our social value report is available on our website, where there's some nice photos and some nice stories of exactly what we supported. We did a benchmark exercise there where the global benchmark is actually to spend about 1% of your profit after tax on CSR projects. We came in at about 1.4%, so about 0.4% over and above the benchmark. And then not all of the value that we create is distributed. We also need to keep some of that value back in the business. So about 1.1 billion was kept back in the business. And that will now play out in future. That will help us to give out more loans next year, to improve on some of our channels and products in which we support our customers. So really to help us to go from strength to strength.
And then just give us some light into the financial metrics that resulted in you being able to generate this profit after tax of 1.7 billion.
Yeah, so ROE is our main metric that we use to determine success from a financial point of view. And again, we had an increase in that number up to 17.9%. We've been having a steady increase in that figure since COVID. So going up from 17.6 last year to 17.9, and we are inching closer to our ambition, our long-term ambition of getting that to 20% on a sustainable way. How did we do that in the current year? The one metric that is important for us as well is cost to income. Making sure that that we really keep our expenses under control and within the realms of our income that we have. So currently that cost to income ratio has also decreased to 50% from 50.8% last year, which is the lowest that we had that figure since the listing in 2013. Now, important just to note on that cost to income is our expenses did increase by 12.2% year on year, which is significantly higher than inflation. But we don't only spend just to keep track of inflation. There's also some new developments, making sure that the business is sustainable into the future and able to compete as well. So despite our expenses increasing by 12.2% and ensuring that future sustainability of the group, we were still able to bring the cost to income ratio down, meaning that our income growth was sufficient to pay that extra expenses over and above inflation. Our non-interest income ratio has come down a bit in the current year. That was mainly a result of the higher interest rates that was experienced over the last year. So it dropped below our target of 45% in the current year. We do believe that it will go up above the 45% level again in the coming financial year as we enter the interest rate cutting cycle. Then I think something that we are very proud of from a credit perspective is our non-performing loans, which has decreased both in value and as a percentage of total loans and advances. So excluding interest in suspense, that ratio is now standing at 4% for the current year versus 4.5% in the prior year. So there was significant hard work that was put in by our credit teams at both banks to get it to that level. And when we do compare that to what the industry has, quite significantly lower. Then just the last point on this side is our loan to funding. So our loan to funding is really the metric that we use to not take on too much risk when it comes to liquidity. So in layman's terms, the higher this percentage is, the more profit you make, but the higher risk you are taking. So we have set out our targets to keep this ratio below 90%, and we've been able to attain that target for the last 3 years, and we're currently at 86.3%. And I think it's a job well done to our treasury teams as well as all the bankers in the bank to make sure that we have sufficient funding in order to service our loans that we give out.
And then lastly, just in terms of your operations both in Namibia and Botswana, how did they contribute to you being able to deliver this really rather stellar set of results?
Yeah, so we've always had a big stronghold in Namibia, with Bank Windhoek being our flagship brand. Now, just interesting to note that in 2013, when we listed this group, we listed as with Bank Windhoek being the only subsidiary in the group, meaning that Bank Windhoek contributed 100% of the group's profits. Fast forward then to 2024, and Bank Windhoek is now only contributing 66% of the total profits of the group, with the extra subsidiaries that were added. And we were able to bring down that percentage and diversify away from Bank Windhoek, despite Bank Windhoek actually going from strength to strength. We didn't stunt the growth of Bank Windhoek at all over the last 10 years. They really went from strength to strength. So it's really the additional investments that were made to help diversify that portfolio. And I think that is a big reason for the success, because we're not solely reliant on the growth of Bank Windhoek to stimulate the growth for the group, but we've got that blend of a diversified subsidiary pool. And I think it's quite evident in Botswana in the current year, where the total Botswana contribution hit 10% of profit after tax for the first time. For a large number of years, they were hovering at about the 6%, 7%. So we're actually quite proud that they also got to that 10% level as well.
Thank you very much for joining us on Business 7.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
finished the last figures that we had produced for the month of June, and with that, obviously, the second quarter of 2024. The average room occupancy in 2024 stands at just under 50%, 49.41, which is 2% higher than 2019. So according to the tourism accommodation statistics, and I have to stress that, we are better than 2019. And yes, some would argue that it's because we work from a smaller base, that we have, some of the lodges or big hotels that have not quite opened up yet because they didn't open up their doors after the pandemic. But the statistics base on which HUN produces its statistics has stayed very stable for the last 10 years. So the same kind and the same type and the same numbers of HUN members from the hotel group, lodge group, and the rest of the different accommodation academies, they have always supplied me with statistics. So we're coming on an equal base. We're comparing apples with apples, as it were. So I can safely say that we are up 2% from 2019 and up something like 6% to last year even. What is particularly of note is that this year, the first quarter was very busy. So it seems that after our Christmas holiday, all the international tourists that we never had in that time of year stay put, came to visit Namibia in numbers. We saw that at the coast, but also in our national parks. The second quarter has not been as vibrant yet, but we do see very healthy tourism returns, mainly in the self-drive industry yet. And that's why tour operators would also claim that their business is not yet fully recovered. But we do have a lot of self-drivers, and they stay at accommodation establishments. So we in the hospitality industry, we talk about a growth and not a recovery anymore.
That is absolutely fantastic news, Geeta. Give us a little bit of an indication of the sentiment under the operators at the moment, because they went through a very hard time.
Yeah, and it seems as though the hard times are not quite over yet, because, it takes quite a long time to actually pay off debt. And everybody accumulated debt because basically for 2 years we were behind closed doors, and many people had, maybe just moved their reservations, but the income generation basically was stalled for 2 years, and people had to take out debt because operational costs continued. So in terms of occupancies and in terms of the volumes of tourists that come into our businesses, that is fully recovered, but people are still paying off bad debt of 2-3 years. So the tourism industry is not yet pumping money, as it were, and that's why very often there's at the moment also concern that the tourism industry or the tourism product is getting very expensive, both in terms of accommodation but also in terms of transport. We see that with national airlines, international airlines really increasing their prices for tickets. That has to do with rising costs for everything from the fuel to basic commodities that are all very essential to offering a tourism product. So the sentiment is still very cautiously optimistic, I would say, but it's still a very hard battle to actually make the product of the tourism industry work and appealing to both the national and the international guests, because we are being accused of having pumped up the rates. And, I would like to actually put in a word for the tourism industry. They are a number crunchers. We are really looking at very consciously at costing. But we all know, even as basic private consumers and household consumers, we know what the operational costs are to run a small household. Now that just quadruples when you run even a bed and breakfast or a lodge, and never to talk about the big hotels that have rent to pay and bank loans to pay off, etc. So the sentiment is still a bit strained because they're coming from a difficult time and are still carrying some of the debt that they accrued in 2020 and 21. But very optimistic, I would say, because the interest in Namibia has been very positive. Namibia has really done well, even if we compare ourselves to the rest of Southern Africa and even some of the other international markets. It seems as though Namibia was able to recover very fast, and then that is reason enough for hope for our industry.
And you say that we're talking about growth in the sector. There's still some tough times sort of getting the numbers in the bank accounts right. In terms of employment, are we seeing a recovery there? Are the operators taking on more staff again?
Yes, there is an absolute demand for more staff, but I also have to say that operators are currently also looking at efficiency. And that's why for the last 1.5 years, we've been focusing on skills development, on producing the right caliber of people to actually service the tourism industry, because the staff costs in our industry is one of the biggest cost factors in the operational sphere. And we need to make sure that whoever we employ is very efficient and can actually do the job. So there's a very careful application of employment creation for people in tourism. We do need to make sure that whoever we take on as employee actually is beneficial to the industry. But having said that, the charm of tourism here in Namibia is still that we can employ people, not only those that have tourism degrees and tertiary education in this field, but also grassroots people who are then growing up in the industry, and that especially in remote areas that usually don't have many other opportunities for employment and income generation. So tourism is still very valuable and very aware of that responsibility for us to create opportunities and create employment. Also a charm, and that's what some of the operators, especially in the rural areas, are trying to promote even more, is to making the local communities aware of the potential that lies within independent consultancy, one would say here in the urban terms, but that you provide a service or a product that the tourism entity could then absorb into the bona fide commercial entity, be it the growth of vegetables that are then consumed at lodges, or laundry being made by the local community, not to speak about the arts and crafts. That is very important for us as a tourism sector, because we do want to focus on authentic, homegrown, uniquely Namibian experience when we offer tourism. So, those kind of elements that add color to the picture of tourism are in the hands of the local communities, and they do not need to have formal employment from the establishments. They can actually provide themselves. So a bit of entrepreneurship is what we're really encouraging amongst the communities, that they can offer their services, be it in storytelling, dancing, but also crafts and laundry and growth of products that can then really play a big role in the tourism product.
Entries are now open for the second round of Republicane's Bridal Couple of the Year competition. Couples married between 1 June and 31 August have until 30 September of this year to enter the second round of the competition. Another one of the top 10 couples will be chosen from this pool to participate in the final, taking place in May 2025. To better your chance of reaching the final, enter now. To enter, simply WhatsApp #Bridal2025 to 085 785 6231 and follow the on-screen instructions or scan this QR code.
Thank you once again for joining us on this week's edition of Business 7. Hope to see you again next week. Take care.
Wedding fever is running high. For everything to do with weddings and marriage, tune in from 1 August and every last Thursday of the month thereafter at 6:30 on NTV for Tro Rock and Roll, our exciting new lifestyle show that goes hand in hand with Republicane's Bridal Couple of the Year competition. Don't miss out! Proudly sponsored by Enjoy.my.na and NAMDEA.